two, one. Dun 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 dun. Insert stinger here. IlluviTalks is live, baby. Second episode of IlluviTalks is here, and in this one, we're going to be talking about some huge topics. We've got a stacked panel today. How do we get casual gamers in here? How do we get competitive gaming going? What are the right tokenomics in the NFT gaming space? And I've got a stacked roster of boys waiting to come in here to share their expertise on all of these topics. What do I mean by all of this? These are our topics that are here, and we've got industry leading people. You want to know who these people are? You probably already know them. Our first guest on the episode is Scoriox. If you're not already familiar with Scoriox, this man right here is a content creator that focuses on tokenomics and NFT structures that back GameFi projects. I watch Scoriox's content. Spreadsheet warrior and analyst. How you doing, Scoriox?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I just felt like a lot of people wanted to know certain things, and I felt like I could help them out and give them just my opinions and my thoughts, and I'm glad I've been able to help.
So unbelievably humble for someone who's so well respected in the community. Speaking of well respected, JP from Arcade is here, CEO and founder of Arcade, an infrastructure platform focused on lowering the barrier to entry in the GameFi industry. What's up, amigo?
Hey guys, super happy to be here. Looking forward to a great discussion. I have so much respect for the other panelists that are up here today, and you as well, Andrew. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a great chat. But looking forward to it.
Me too. And of course, we couldn't do competitive gaming without the face of competitive gaming and NFT gaming. I'll brand him as right now. We're talking about Frobei right here, former Teamfight Tactics pro player, peak rank in the top 100 Europe West, now TFT and Illuvium content creator. What's up, amigo?
Yeah, what's up? I'm super happy to be here. Like, only people I respect, and I didn't know I was the face of the competitive Illuvium, so I'm happy to learn that today.
Congratulations. You won. Perfect. And it goes without saying, all of us, we're just talking video games. We're just talking GameFi industry, and nothing we say today is financial advice at all. Okay, we're just sharing our opinion. You need to do your own research, and maybe watching this IlluviTalks and listening to it is a part of your research. But we are not recommending that you buy any financial products or anything. But you guys are obviously smart enough to understand that. And if you have not already, you need to go right now to illuvium.io/illuvitars. Go build a sample Illuvitar and sign up for that email list. Don't know what I'm talking about and are not hyped yet? Watch this video. Could watch that video. I could watch it 1,000 times, maybe 1,000,000,000 times. Maybe I will. Let's get into casual gaming, and we're going to kick things off with JP here. Why should casual gamers even want to come into NFT gaming at all? Obviously, out there, we've seen lots of FUD, let's say, in the industry, talking about environmental issues, talking about various items with hacks, and all of this bad news, basically, about how, let's say, NFTs are destroying our planet. This headline right here on MSNBC is one of my favorites, with all the pop-ups. Bitcoin, NFTs, and other crypto fads are destroying our planet. Mainstream gamers are reading this stuff, and it's really influencing their opinions. Also, here's another one on Protocol. To the game industry, NFTs are already dead. So how do we bring in the casual gamers if these are the headlines they're seeing? If it's a dead industry that's destroying the planet and all your assets are going to be hacked, why would you ever come over here? JP, you must have all the answers.
I don't know about all the answers, but no, I think that a lot of it stems back to just misinformation that's going out. Like you said, I mean, we have these big scary headlines, and people are led to believe that, what they don't understand fully, they fear and they think, it's just a bunch of microtransactions. It's just a way to pad the pockets of the elite even more in a more creative and new way. But I mean, in terms of why should casual gamers want to come here, I think it really boils down to, giving them back the ownership for something that they're already doing, that they already enjoy, that they're already passionate about. Give them back that control, and you're not having to, you're not changing the way that you game, right? I think that's the important thing for how casual gamers are going to come into the ecosystem, is we have to make it comfortable for them so that they don't feel out of their element for coming into the space and getting involved with these different games. And this is something that I think Illuvium is doing really well. But we have to make it a super easy transition for them. We have to educate them, give them really strong resources that aren't just fear mongering, right? I think in terms of things like the environmental impact of GameFi and play and earn gaming and stuff of that nature, I think there is an impact there, and I think that the narrative is, it has historically been, gaming on its own is one big cause of all this fear, and then maybe crypto on its own is another big cause of it. So you combine those two things, and now everyone's like, we can't touch that. But I think that, really it would benefit GameFi to not shy away from those accusations, but address the things that actually are concerns and work towards solutions, right? I think Web3 and this whole GameFi, movement is it's an opportunity for us to do things better, or at least differently than legacy gaming has done. But I think just in general, Andrew, I think we have to make people feel at home. We have to make them. I think the community aspect of it is so important, right? You want to feel like you're a part of something, and I think these Web3 games that are leading the charge right now are doing a really great job of engaging with their communities. They're keeping them involved. They're doing things like this, right? I mean, when was the last time you saw a panel like this for like Call of Duty or like Halo or anything like that? Like these things just don't happen. So I think these are the right steps that we can
They do
take
lots of
to,
awkward live streams with developers where the
yeah,
developers are like, hey, I'm going to do some jokes and oops, the game crashed. They're really, really awkward and terrible. I guess because they're out of practice with communicating
yeah,
transparently to the audience. Normally, legacy gaming companies have to go through PR teams and have their messages sanitized, and they don't get to interact with the public. And so they don't get to be normal people when they interact with the public. It's kind of a shame.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think just being genuine, right? I think that is the main thing that these Web3 games need to be doing, is being transparent, being genuine. And again, I hate to keep, I mean, this is an Illuvium discussion, so I guess it is relevant to continue to throw it back to Illuvium, but this is something that I think Illuvium does incredibly well, because from day one, you guys have led the charge in being transparent, right? Having real gameplay footage from the developers, or like models that are being created, showing the community that things are actually being done, not hiding behind the curtain like legacy games are, right? And that level of transparency, I think, instills a lot of trust in your community, and it makes it easier for people to want to feel like they're a part of something that's really great. And so you have to give people that feeling, right? And make them want to, when they wake up in the morning, go to the Illuvium Discord to see what's up, check in with their friends that are in there, look at the leaks, right? Those are the kinds of things that people want to be involved with. And you really just don't get that in legacy gaming.
Scoriox, what barriers do you think we need to knock down to capture this elusive mainstream gamer? So this guy, the Call of Duty gamer that's playing on Xbox on their couch, maybe the casual mobile gamer that's playing Candy Crush or maybe Clash of Clans, this gamer that is maybe much further away from paying attention to Illuvium or this space than other gamers. How do we get this elusive mainstream gamer? What are the barriers we need to punch down to get them in here?
I think how I see it is actually relatively simple. I feel like I was around for when free to play started to become a really big deal, right? With especially with League of Legends, but things like Fortnite and stuff as well, where a person could go onto a website, click download game, and then in like 2 hours with crappy Australian internet, or maybe 2 minutes with some USA internet, they could click play and they could get into the game. No overhead. All they would need is an email. I feel like that sort of strategy is what needs to happen moving forward, We need to hide all the blockchain as much as we can and just enable anyone to play with just an email. I feel like that is the shortest path to success with getting mainstream gamers into a crypto game, right? And I feel like I looked at some stats a bit earlier today where Binance, one of the largest centralized exchanges in the world, actually has 13 times more trading volume than Uniswap at the moment, one of the largest decentralized exchanges in the world. And I think that that's really telling that people are willing to offload all that security and other things to a centralized entity to make their life easier. And I don't think games are any different to that. I think people, especially gamers that are afraid of crypto at least, they want to offload everything onto the gaming company as much as they can because they already do. I don't see any reason that's going to change anytime soon. Obviously, I'd like to see it evolve over time, but for now, that's definitely a big factor for me with getting those people onboarded into crypto in general.
I can't hear you, Andrew.
Because I
It's
muted
working
my
now.
mixer.
Okay.
That would be why. Sorry. So how do you think, Frobei, the casual gaming experience in NFT gaming is going to differ from legacy gaming? So is it better? Is it worse? Like Scoriox was just talking about how having centralization, having ease of onboarding. People don't care about decentralization other than the types of people that are watching the stream right now are already in here, right? Most
Yeah.
people just want an easy experience where it's easy to get in. I could just get my money in there. I can download quick. Whatever interface is simple. They want the easiest and lowest barrier to entry experience. So for the casual gamer, are they going to have a better or worse experience in our space? I mean, you got MetaMasks, ledgers, Trezors, your digital wallet to deal with. Like, does this make gaming more fun or is it making it worse? What's your opinion there?
I mean, if we look at how it is right now, it's definitely worse. And honestly, it takes someone a lot of courage and curiosity and resilience to actually start getting into this space. I remember I had to spend like 2 days just to understand what the heck is a wallet and what is it different from my personal wallet, from Binance's wallet. So right now it's very, very painful for any casual gamer who wants to try, I don't know, for instance, got the chain, which is already available. I was going to say Illuvium, but you need a private beta access first. So right now it's completely horrible. But let's say like in the future, we manage to get this onboarding journey very smooth and seamless for the casual gamer. Then after, I think the NFT gaming needs also to offer an experience we can't find anywhere else. Let's talk about, for instance, the last massive marketing buzzword, which was augmented reality in 2016 with Pokemon Go. No one really cared about augmented reality, the technology itself, except, of course, me as an engineering student and other geeks. But the casual gamer didn't care really about
That makes
augmented
sense.
reality.
Yeah, my daughter right now, when she goes to play Pokemon Go, isn't like, Dad, can I play some augmented reality? Like, it's just, can I play this game? And whatever the tech happens to be, it happens to be. That makes sense.
The difference, though, is that the augmented reality managed to create an experience which was never before. The ability to go outside, capture Pokemons, meeting a lot of strangers, having this kind of social game, community game where you have to fight or fight together. And this is some kind of new experience. I believe that the NFT gaming will need to create a new experience we can't find anywhere else in the gaming industry. And then that plus the smooth onboarding journey will create one of the best gaming experience for casual gamers.
That totally makes sense. I mean, for me, I think that for casual gamers to get in here, we need, they obviously, I've said this before in other interviews, we need casual gamers to be able to pay using every fiat and regular payment method, from gift cards to credit cards to bank accounts to any payment method to buy games. The games need to be available not just through individual DeFi sites or places like Immutable. They need to be on Steam. They need to be on Xbox Marketplace, PlayStation. They need to be on all those hardware and software distribution platforms. And most importantly, more important than anything that we've talked about here, the games need to be as good as, if not better, than the games they're already playing in legacy gaming. It's gaming first, it's gameplay first. And as it stands right now, 99.9% of the games in the space are not as good as the legacy gaming counterpart. Period. So hopefully Illuvium and other folks in this space can solve that issue. But I'm just thinking of myself as a casual gamer. Why would I come over and play some inferior game and step back in time 10 years? That makes literally no sense. Well, that's the casual gaming space. Let's get into competitive gaming. I've got some fun statistics for you guys. Are you ready?
Yep.
How many cajillion freaking jillions of dollars do you think that esports makes? Just throw out your guesses right here. Revenue per year. If you were to guess how much revenue per year, Scoriox, how many dollars per year globally?
I think I looked this up, but I can't remember. I think it's just over $1 billion a year.
Just over $1 billion. So your guess is 1 billion.
Yeah.
Okay. JP, what's your guess?
I was going to say about 500 million, maybe 600 million.
Okay, we'll go with 550 million. Meet you there in the
All
middle.
right, yeah, sounds
and
good.
then Frobei, what's your guess on annual esports revenue right now?
Do you include merchandise or not? Like what's
Global
Just-
everything esports. What's your guess on how much money esports makes every year?
10 billion?
10 billion. Wow.
I mean, if we include everything, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then here's the real numbers. According to Newzoo, esports revenue right now in 2022 is 1.3 billion, having estimated to have grown. I mean, obviously this year's not over yet, but last year was 1.1 billion. And then this year is estimated to be 1.3 billion with a 21% year over year growth. Here's the interesting statistic, guys. By the time we move into 2025, it'll be 1.8 billion. Interesting stat, right? There's also one other thing I want to bring in here, just so everybody understands the scope of this space. Let's look at audience growth. From 2021 to 2022, we saw a significant acceleration of 12% for esports viewership, I think in part because due to COVID lockdowns. And then, as you can see, the viewership is now eclipsing 500 million viewers per year. And here's the breakdown that I really want you guys to have a look at. Occasional viewers versus esports enthusiasts. As you can see, the occasional viewers cohort is growing even faster than the cohort of people that are hardcore, right? Or at the same speed. So this is a healthy mix. So moving into 2025, most viewers barely will be casual viewers in esports, and will be up to 640 million people watching esports. Those are the facts. Newzoo is the authority on this, and for the most part, it's pretty accurate. So, with this space growing so quickly, NFT gaming is obviously primed to capitalize on there. But in order to get this to happen, we need competitive gamers to even want to come over at all. So, as the face of esports competitive gaming, Frobei, what do we need to do? What should competitive gamers even want? Why would they even want to come over to NFT gaming at all?
Yeah, I was just making sure my hair was okay because now I feel like I'm the face of something. But anyway, so in my opinion, in order for gamers to actually want to become even competitive about the game, there are three main conditions. The first one, the game needs to be fun. Honestly, if no one is having fun, no one will try to be competitive. I mean, for the long term, it needs to be fun. It needs to be designed in a competitive way, meaning that actually we can have tournaments with very fair and easy rules to abide. You need also to have another thing that the second thing that the gamers, competitive gamers, want to feel, but they don't want to admit it, is just the community recognition. The game needs to have a strong community, a community that wants to compete. So actually, when you win this competition and you are recognized as being the one at the top, it feels good. And that's a lot of players just want to play the game like 10, 12 hours a day just for that. You have so many players playing League of Legends every day without being in a competitive esports organization. And they still want to just be good at the game so they can actually, show their little badge inside the LOL client to their friends or whatever. So this is the second condition, community recognition. And the third condition is, obviously, these competitive players need also to make enough money to live correctly. And I would even say, just like a football athlete, they need to make a good amount of money because starting at age 30, depending on the game, it's already too late for them. Because you have a lot of games, especially for instance FPS or CSGO, you have to be able to react super quick. And once you grow old, more than 30, I guess, for this for this community. I'm not saying 30 is too old in life, okay? But anyway, they need to make enough money so they can actually retire in good condition and maybe work in a less tiring job later to make a living. So once you have these three steps, it's in this order of priority. If you start with just making money without a good game, without a community, or a strong community, I would say, yeah, cool, you make money. But the second the game doesn't make you money anymore, the game dies. And we have this example with Axie Infinity or Stepan in another way. So I think that these three criteria are the most important. And after, I would even say, competitive players don't really care if it's NFT or not. Actually, they are more open-minded than the casual gamer when it comes to NFT features and technology. So in my opinion, NFT is kind of irrelevant as long as it provides these three things.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, how do we get these hardcore gamers in here to try NFT games in the first place, though? JP, I'd be curious to know your thoughts about that. What's that hook? How do you get that League of Legends player in here, that World of Warcraft player, that Hearthstone player, that gamer that hops on their computer, plays 3 to 4 hours every night, then on weekends, they're dumping 5, 6, 7 hours in there, only go below that number if they get a girlfriend kind of situation, that type of hardcore gamer? How do we hook them? What's the hook to get them in?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, Andrew, are you going to let Frobei sit there and tell you that your career as a professional gamer is behind you because you're over 30? Because, I mean, that seemed like a low blow to me. But
sorry.
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. I was a top 100 World of Warcraft 3 player. I've never said that here on Illuvium. I was a top player, but I was in my early 20s, and now I've tried to play Warcraft 3. The old guy fingers don't work as well
old
anymore.
guy fingers, huh?
It's true, man. The kids these days are better.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of attracting the right players, I mean, from what I've seen, and I'm not a professional esports player by any means, so but from what I've seen is that you have to have a high enough skill gap possible that professional players feel like there is runway for them to get really good at it, right? When we have a game that has, too much luck or too much, chance, or it's too easy to play, and you have to find that right balance, right? Because you want the game to be easy enough to onboard new users and your casual gamers, but not so easy that the professionals feel like, okay, the barrier to being really good at the game is so low that it's not worth my time, right? People want to be able to work towards something. I think that's why, in real life sports, have professional teams, right? Like if you want to play soccer or football, as is known in most of the world, someone that's a high school football player or soccer player and someone that, plays professionally, there's a very high differentiation of the skill. And I think you need to see that in games as well. And again, I think this is something that Illuvium's doing really well. I mean, there's a ton of different variables that go into building your deck and your placement. I mean, one little tile off on the placement on the board is the difference between winning and losing. So you really have a lot of room to become an expert in something. And I think that's the kind of thing that attracts professional players.
Got it. That makes sense. Scoriox, is competitive gaming an init with NFTs integrated? Do these NFTs that are supposedly dead, according to the FUD we looked at earlier, do these NFTs actually make competitive gaming better? Like, does that really help with the skill ceiling we're talking about and the, in other aspects? I mean, Frobei just said a moment ago, well, we need to be able to pay esports players. Maybe these NFTs, these new NFTs we've heard so much about, can help with that. But how do they really help in competitive gaming? Don't people just want to play video games that have lots of players, have a good competitive scene, have that high skill cap where they can dominate and be the hero and get that endorphin rush of crushing people, why do you need NFTs in there? Is it making it better or worse? What's your opinion?
I feel like NFTs are a really interesting one. I think the one big thing that would scare away competitive players is if you use NFTs to engage with pay-to-win aspects in any sort of game. Now, this is already dangerous in any game that's trying to be competitive, but I feel like NFTs really lend themselves here. If NFTs are more an icon of progression rather than pay-to-win aspects or anything like that, it actually enables new entries into the game to not necessarily get a head start, but catch up by fronting some cash. And I think that's a really interesting mechanic that shouldn't be disregarded, right? So someone can come in, they can be like, okay, so for example, with League of Legends, you need to spend X amount of time hitting level 30 before you can play ranked mode. I think they've changed that now, but that's how it was when I first got into it. So you couldn't even try to be competitive until you spent
and you had to upgrade your
24
quintessences and stuff back in the day. And
Yeah.
once your quintessences were upgraded, then you were viable. Yeah.
Exactly. You had to do all that. And I feel like the NFT aspect and integration into these sorts of competitive games enables people to be like, okay, I'll take the money I have out of the previous game, probably at a massive loss or whatever, but they're taking a little bit of their money back from like CSGO or something. And they're taking that money and they're using that to catch up to everyone else in a game that they choose to be more competitive in now instead. So I feel like it's this really great way of unlimiting progression, where someone could take their progression they've spent all these years for and essentially pass it on to someone else who now wants to enter that competitive scene.
That's interesting. I've got what I'm hoping for competitive and esports here in this NFT gaming space is that maybe not just the NFTs, but maybe the tokenomics, things like revenue distribution, and the different, let's say, financial mechanics that happen in GameFi can help fund competitive and esports tournaments and scene in a way that we have not seen in legacy gaming. So in legacy gaming, esports is almost entirely reliant on sponsorship revenue, and then obviously some merchandise revenue. Of course, the merchandise can come into play, and then a very limited number of subscription revenue for different clubs and what have you. That's extremely limited revenue. And that makes it so that only esports that have a really wide viewership and huge viewership can be viable economically. And what this usually results in is legacy gaming companies having to pay out of pocket to fund their esport and actually losing money on that esport along the way and thinking of it as a marketing initiative, something like that. I'm hoping that these new financial mechanics in GameFi can help solve that. And with the issuance of NFTs in game, maybe with the issuance of NFTs as prizes, with these sorts of the ability to actually own what you have in the game, maybe even vest if people want to, etc., and earn along the way, can add additional economic incentives for people to kind of come up through the ranks as competitive players, for organizations to want to be a part of a game or to be involved outside of just harvesting it for views. And that's what all these sponsors do right now in esports, is they just want to harvest it for views because that's all they can get out of it economically. But with some projects here in NFT gaming, you can do more than just harvest it for views. You could, if you wanted to, you could invest in the land or the NFTs or the token, or be a part of revenue distribution, or get some other financial involvement. I'm hoping we don't see the right model yet. And Illuvium's trying some new stuff out with tier 5 land and people being able to own stadiums and get revenue from that. We're trying to innovate in this space in terms of the finances of esports. Maybe we have the right answer. Maybe we don't have the right answer. But the point is, we need something new, because esports live and die by having a massive player base and sponsors that are willing to pay for those views. And when you're entirely reliant on sponsorship revenue, you're on that roller coaster ride of doom, essentially. And so I'm hoping that NFT gaming can be a part of that solve. Speaking of tokenomics, we've got the professor of tokenomics, the man that wrote the book on tokenomics, basically a guy that does videos about tokenomics, Scoriox here. And let's talk about this space and how we've evolved in terms of tokenomics. Obviously, Axie Infinity is infamous now for infinitely printing, this is their white paper, infinitely printing tokens and essentially driving their token, one of their tokens down to zero. And so with Gen 1, let's call it games, we've learned that some aspects of tokenomics models they don't work. And maybe that's the play and earn aspect. Maybe that's the infinite printing. We can analyze that, and I'd love to get your opinion, Scoriox. Illuvium is like let's call it a Gen 2, if you will, tokenomics model that doesn't infinitely print tokens, has some new aspects like revenue distribution, and let's say has learned some lessons, let's say, from the previous generations that made mistakes. All of this is an evolution, right? This is the Illuvium documentation. I want to also make it very clear. Nothing we're discussing here in tokenomics is financial advice, all right? We're just analyzing tokenomics and talking about it from a expert panel perspective, all right, guys? But Scoriox, with that kind of in mind, us moving from Gen 1 NFT games to, let's say, Gen 2 NFT games, what did we learn from Gen 1? What worked? What didn't work? What are those learnings that we can take as an industry moving forward?
I think the big thing for me is that Gen 1 and in particular Axie Infinity and things like that, they try to predict player behavior, right? Now that if anyone's done even a little bit of research into psychology, you can't predict anything, right? Like there's so many variables, and trying to predict their behavior is always a recipe for disaster. The big one with Axie's case was infinitely printable SL Smooth Love Potion tokens. And obviously that was never going to work. But the big factors that actually caused that to fail was they thought they had systems in place for people to burn those tokens. But they didn't. They actually tried to predict who their players were. They tried to predict that this was a person that didn't need the money. And then when it eventually turned into they're earning $500-600 a day, it was like anyone could see that they were going to sell it, right? So they tried to predict how people were going to use the game and predict and say like, oh, this is going to be a great esports. Everyone's going to be collecting all the Axies and things like that. And those sorts of assumptions are probably the large cause for me of kind of why it fell apart. Now, when you're looking into Gen 2 tokenomics,
here, hold on, take a pause right there. I mean, that sounds really familiar to me. The whole idea that humans think that they can control economic systems and that they know best and that they shouldn't let the market take its course or whatever and determine pricing and determine supply and demand. That reminds me what you're describing of like governmental controls over fiat currency and over like central banks and the Fed and all this stuff we hear in the headlines, thinking that they can predict or they are smart enough to understand what's going to happen in the economy. And so they can kind of pull the levers of the economy to stabilize it or to control it and to make sure it's healthy. It sounds like the game, in this case with Axie, they made the same assumption. And hasn't that failed 100% of the time in history? I'm just saying, like literally no currency from the past exists today, right? They all go out of business. So it seems like it's just kind of a lesson humanity cannot learn. You cannot meddle with economies. I mean, would you agree with that, Scoriox, or do you think I'm wrong?
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's largely because there's so many different kinds of people in the world, right? I mean, even in like America and things, you have what people call the lower, middle, and upper class, and they all react to every scenario in a completely different way. So trying to build something to fit all three scenarios is just, it's really difficult. It's not impossible. But you need to put guidelines and rails in place so that it can't shift outside of these rails, and then start to just let the people kind of choose what they need, choose their own path. But you need to keep as stricter guidelines as you can. I think Illuvium's doing a lot of these things where there's no breeding mechanics, so you're not giving the player the choice if they want to expand the supply and contract the supply themselves. And you've got things like a limited token supply, so people can't just mint tokens infinitely and things like that. So you're putting those rails in place in that V2 economy. And then if the players choose to do whatever, it shouldn't really self-destruct because there's ways to prevent it.
That makes sense. And with governance, the gamers and the players can literally decide democratically, if you will, what any economic changes that should be made in the games that they're playing. Versus, let's say, the government example I was using, you have to, the Fed, for example, as a citizen, you don't get to vote for who is in those positions controlling the economy. Whereas in this case, you get to directly vote on maybe direct economic decisions. So you're much closer to those decisions as a gamer who is literally playing the game every day and seeing that maybe something with the in-game economy is broken and you want that to be fixed. I think it's really cool. We'll see how this experiment plays out to see whether gamers will make good decisions, because it's possible that people will just make impulse decisions, obviously, that just help them personally. And will gamers tank these economies through bad votes in governance? We'll find out, but that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Let me ask you, Frobei, how can NFT games attract gamers without talking about crypto and NFTs and using buzzwords like Web3 and metaverse and all of this, PFPs and all of these acronyms that seem to have 3 letters? How can we attract gamers without talking about all of that stuff? Because it is an underlying technology. It is here, and it is part of what makes this space different, right? Can we avoid that?
I think it will be something like the Fight Club rule. Never talk about NFT, right? So I think we will have to apply this rule, and we have to understand that instead of talking about the technology, we should try to show what the value it gives to the players. Let's not talk about the new fancy technology, new buzzword marketing, whatever. Let's just talk about what it brings to the players. Like I said earlier with Pokemon Go, yeah, we talked a lot about augmented reality, but it was never about augmented reality. Even like this technology was just a small feature in Pokemon Go that almost everyone would turn off. What the real value was, we made a game that allows you to explore your neighborhood or even travel in other places and have fun with strangers or your family or your friends outside while capturing Pokemon. So I think that we will almost never talk about crypto until we get to the point where we have no more choices. Like, okay, you captured this, I don't know, Illuvial, if we take the Illuvium example. You have now the choice to keep it or to collect it with others and evolve it, or you can also sell it. And that value, we will say, okay, this is thanks to crypto. But you didn't even know about that. You just paid, you went into Illuvium, you put your credit card, you paid. You never saw the crypto before. So that's why I think this is the path we have to take in order to make sure that we never talk about crypto, but we talk about the value it brings, and people will be more curious.
Okay, so focus on the kind of end result that the customer gets, the transformation, if you will, that the gamer or the customer gets, rather than focusing on the mechanism of getting it. So if I were to market MP3s right now, a technology that basically puts CDs, tapes, records, and the radio out of business, I wouldn't talk about the MP3s. I wouldn't talk about the compression technology. I wouldn't talk about how you can fit a song that used to be 100 megabytes into one that's only 3 megabytes now. Nobody cares. What you would talk about is, do you want to listen to your favorite music? Yes. Would you like to have 500 of your favorite songs in a device that's this big? Yes. Then go ahead and buy this iPod and you can get that. And so you're just talking about the end result they're getting and not talking about the tech in between. People just want to listen to music conveniently, right? In that example. So with games, and I think this leads us into our next question, JP, you're really good at making things simple and kind of easy for the average person to understand. How do we better communicate with non-crypto natives about this technology? Do we take the Fight Club approach of never talk about it? Or do we just skip over it and just only talk about the benefits? What's that balance like?
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, the most successful projects are going to be the ones that acknowledge that there's kind of 2 groups of people or 2 schools of thought, I guess, in your demographic. And on the one hand, you have the players, right? The people that they just want to play. They don't want to overcomplicate it. When they get home from work, they don't want to have to learn how to install a wallet or whatever. They just want to sit on their couch, play a game, and have fun, right? So that's one side. And then the other side, you have people that are kind of like this macro kind of like a meta gamer to where they're playing a different game, right? And this is something that Brooks Brown from Norse talks about all the time, is that they're still playing a game. It's just a different game, right? It's the game of economics and balance and earning revenue and making money and flipping this NFT and that NFT, right? There's kind of two different schools, and I think you have to acknowledge that both sides exist, but only with the balance of the other, right? With going into the GameFi space. So when it comes to better communicating with non-crypto natives about this technology, I think it depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to someone that just wants to be a player, then I don't think they should be forced to learn all of the stuff that they don't really care about, right? They just want to play. And then if you have, on the other hand, your meta, your macro gamer that really wants to be involved with the economics and watching Scoriox's tokenomic videos and studying stuff with this creator or that creator to find balance in the economy, then they should have that option and the resources available to them to do that and to go down that road, but without forcing either side into the glove of the other, right? Kind of create a path that services each interest without forcing them into something that they don't want to do. And I think that's really what it's going to boil down to in terms of communicating with new players. It's going to be, what side are they on? Are they a little bit of both? Do they just want to play? Then that's kind of step one. Identify those demographics and then cater content directly to them.
Okay, great. That's a really good answer. Guys, we are going to move into Q&A. We've got so many Qs. It's blowing my mind right now here in chat, and some really good questions. And we're going to start out with, speaking of communication, there's a great question here from Ricky. How would Illuvium be explained in the simple MP3 versus CD example? Go. I'm going to give a crack at this and let me know if you guys would like to give a try. It's really hard, right, to wrap your head around something as complex as Illuvium and explain it to somebody in simple terms, but I'll do my best. You ready? Maybe I'll botch it. I'm going to put you guys on the spot and I'm going to make one of you guys do it if you want, or you could not do it. All right, so here's my attempt. Are you ready? Do you remember how fun it was to play Pokemon for the first time? Well, imagine if it could be that fun again now that you're an adult, where you could play with AAA graphics, the strategy is way deeper, and you can actually literally own all of the Pokemon and be able to buy, sell, and trade them on your own. That's Illuvium. Download now. Something as simple as that. I think it would work for communicating what Illuvium is to somebody who has played Pokemon before. Do you guys have an attempt on simplifying Illuvium into very simple terms? Anybody want to give it a crack?
Yeah, I'll go.
All right, Scoriox, your turn.
Do you remember when you used to watch Yu-Gi-Oh when you were a kid and you played the cards and the monsters came to life? Imagine going out into the world, capturing your monsters, and then putting them on the board and watching them fight it out. That's Illuvium.
So these are like both callback kind of methods of simplifying things. You remember that thing you used to do when you were a kid? Wouldn't it be great to be that excited again? Those kinds of things. Anyway, any other attempts you guys want? Otherwise, we'll get into other questions. Everybody, ask your questions in live chat. We will answer your questions in real time. You guys want to give it a try or no?
I was going to go with the Scoriox route, so he took
the Yu-Gi-Oh route.
Yeah, he gets the credits.
Got it. No problem. All right, here's a question asking about those Illuvials. Will Illuvials have cooler specific moves when they're in a waiting state? Will they fly, go underground during moments of attack, or just movement on the board? So the answer to this is they will be able to fly. Some will fly. Some will go underground. And those underground or flying moves are generally when their Omega ability triggers. So Ramfire, for example, flies up in the air and then drops a rain of fire, essentially, attack on enemies. And then other Illuvials like Malura will literally go under the ground, pop up behind enemies, and then do an explosive attack. And do they have any cooler specific moves when they're in a waiting state? I don't know. I don't know any character that has a move when they're in a waiting state, so I'm not sure about that. But that's the answer to that question. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think what's really interesting about what Illuvium is doing also is the depth of the board, right? When you think about a game like Illuvium, or like Teamfight Tactics or whatever it is, you have to kind of consider how much depth is there in the actual animations on the board. And if you were to like take a cross section of the Illuvium board, I mean, you have so many different levels that, you know, something will fly up this high or something will go underground, or like the projectile that one thing sends might go here or here, right? So it's like you have so many different it's such an expansive experience that it's really enjoyable to watch, and I think that's also going to be really helpful for the future, just because of how entertaining it will be to watch, like in a stream setting and stuff like that. But just wanted to throw that out there.
Got it. Yeah, I hope you're right. I mean, here's a great question. Let's get some Prices Right style guesses here. Get you guys on the record on official Illuvium avenues on this one. Here we go. You're on the record. How many players do you expect to come into Illuvium 6 months after it releases publicly? Frobei, I'm putting you on the spot here. Use that tactical mind. What's it going to be? What's the number? Price is Right style. If you go, you lose.
Okay, I don't like to just put random numbers. I just know that apparently there were around 2 million people who subscribed to the newsletter or try to get to the access to private beta. We can expect that during this, I mean, with this number, a lot of just different bots who just put multiple times their email. So I would say after 6 months, I can expect at least 1 million players.
1 million total players that have tried it, or 1 million monthly actives? That's two different things, right?
Yeah, that's completely different. What was your question then? For me, it's like
I think the question here is total players that have tried it. I think after 6 months would be the question that they're asking. Total number of downloads is essentially what they mean, right?
In that case, I could even go at least 2 million then.
2 million downloads. Got it. All right. JP, what's your Price is Right style guess? How many downloads after 6 months?
I was going to go with 2 million. So Frobei kind of went in there. What's the strategy for Price is Right? Do I come in just below?
If you bet $1, then anything. If you bet 1, then anything between 1 and 2 million, you would win.
All right, I'm going to bet 1 then. I'm going to be strategic. I know at least I'll be playing, so
you'll get one download. Hit 1 download. Got it. Scoriox, what's your guess? 6 months later, how many downloads?
I think Thetan Arena had 22 million players after about a month, right? I know it's mobile, and I feel like that's the biggest hindrance here. But looking at the gameplay leaks and everything, and the amount of crypto people that'll be coming in just on their own, and also I think it will coincide with the next bull run for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on and so forth. I actually think we could hit maybe 10 million downloads within 6 months.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Personally, that's my estimate. I think we'd be looking at about 10 to 12 million. So that my guess is different than yours. I'll say 12 million after 6 months. We also have to take into account ramped up marketing, advertising, and you guys, we have like barely done any marketing at all for Illuvium at this point. And so all of that will be built and deployed. Who knows? If any of us are right, millions of players is good, except for your guess, JP, of 1. That was a bad guess. I don't like that. Illuvium is transparent, my friends, and I am going to pull up a great one. No game studio would ever pull this up on their screen, ever. They would never, ever do this. And I'm going to put it up right now. Is Illuvium play to win? Or play to win? Or maybe you're trying to say pay to win? I don't know.
Play to win?
I guess
it
you're
is
asking
play to win.
both. You're asking both at the same time, okay? So let's go around the board and answer this question. I will answer it last. But based on what you understand about Illuvium's main game in particular, and the fact that you can have Illuvium 0, right? And you can buy land and then get resources from your land, which you can take into the main game. And there's obviously all these purchasing mechanics where you can, by purchasing, you can take more activities in the game. You could even buy, Illuvials and all sorts of things off the Illuvidex. Is this a game where you could just play and do really well? Do you have to pay? Where do you kind of feel it sits on the pay to win, play to win spectrum, let's say, of, I'd be curious to know your opinions on that based on what you know so far, starting with Scoriox.
This one's a really tricky one, right? Because I feel like in its normal state, it's not pay to win at all, right? But you have this thing where in 3 to 5 years, all the Illuvials we see now might be unavailable to catch in the overworld. I think the big variable for me is the new Illuvials and the new sets that come out. If they are similar or fill very similar roles to previous Illuvials, then I feel like it could not be pay to win. I feel like that would be enough. The other side of things is Hearthstone actually does a dual system with its ranked systems, basically where older cards, or in this case we talk about Illuvials, older cards aren't usable in the current ranked mode. And then there's a secondary ranked mode where you can use any of the Illuvials and things. I think as long as you have that dichotomy, it's not pay to win at all.
You're muted, Andrew.
Again, I muted myself because I drank a soda. So Illuvium has 2 different ranked modes planned. One, to my knowledge, if you just own any version of a particular Illuvial, you'll be able to take that to the highest level, balance adjusted into competitive. So you could catch like a little dinky Atlas and you would get the same power Atlas as somebody who paid $1 billion, let's say, in competitive. And then obviously there will be a different competitive mode where people that have maybe whaled out or want to just show off their collection or show how powerful their collection is in aggregate can go compete with each other there. Frobei, what are your thoughts on pay to win versus play to win? Is there such thing as just doing an entirely free to play economy like this? Like, is that just some kind of pipe dream here?
For me, it all depends on the barrier to entry. How much does it cost, let's say in dollars, in order to have a pretty decent deck to start with not necessarily the most powerful Illuvials, of course, but at least to try something, go on different regions and try to scale your team by capturing stronger and stronger Illuvials, like little by little. As long as this is super easy and accessible for the majority, I would say this is pay to fast. So basically you pay just to accelerate this process in order to just rank fast, basically just like Hearthstone, technically speaking. But if the barrier to entry is kind of high, or we feel like there's too much of a difference between someone who never spent money and someone who spent, let's say, regularly, I don't know, 100 per month, then I would say in that case it turns more and more into pay to win.
Okay,
and
that's fair.
We have to play if we want to win, so it's a play to win.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And one thing to keep in mind here too is if the game is too expensive, let's say for the average gamer to get that viable deck, then the game studio has to listen to the community. Like you could literally propose an IIP to fix the problem and then vote on it, and then it happens, right? So that's one interesting thing here in legacy gaming. The executives may withhold power and force you to pay to accelerate in order to maximize their profits because their quarterly earnings report is coming up. That happens all the time in video game industry. There's mandates for executives to accelerate revenue moving into an anticipated weak quarter. How do you do that? You squeeze your customers for every dollar they have. Well, in this case, our shareholders, if you will, in quotation marks, can literally vote changes into the games. So it's a very, very different situation. You're not just some random Joe on a shareholder call. You can literally vote action directly in. JP, what are your thoughts here? Is pay to win or pay to accelerate? Does it have to be the standard moving forward? And do you feel that Illuvium will be friendly for that average player who maybe doesn't want to dump a ton of money in?
Yeah, I think the ideal scenario for a game is for there to be that skill gap I mentioned earlier, to the point where if you have a team of lower ranked or like less powerful Illuvials and you go up against someone that has bought stronger Illuvials off of the market, so they've paid to kind of advance their position without grinding to earn it, is the skill gap, does it overlap enough to where the one with the weaker Illuvials can still win that fight, right? And I think that we've seen already just in private beta 1, just the fact that some of these professional players like Frobei are smacking like wave 30 every single time, or like we've seen some things with I think Scoriox has done it a couple times, or Vetamore, where they'll see how far they can get with just stage 1 Illuvials, right? And I think they've proven that with the right placement and the right strategy, you can be competitive or even a winner against Illuvials that were kind of, paid out or, maybe purchased off the market. And the economy that Illuvial is creating makes it possible for the grinders to sell the NFTs to the whales that don't want to spend the time. And it kind of keeps the whole circle going round and round. So, I mean, I personally think that Illuvium has the right approach. I don't think anything that is pay to win is going to be super successful, especially when there's real money on the line. But I think in this case, the skill gap is there to where, even if you can't afford the nicest Illuvials, you can still be competitive because you're just a better player.
Great answers to that question around the board. Thank you for that great question as well. Okay, let me ask you this other one from chat here, and I think this will be our final question, and then we will wrap up the episode. Here's one from chat, and I guess we can go around the board and get all your answers. Modern Llama, who comments on everything, asks, why should the average gamer play Illuvium over other traditional games? What's your number one fundamental reason? So obviously all of you guys are bullish on Illuvium, Scoriox, and Frobei. Obviously you can make content about it. What would be your pitch to the average gamer? If you were to go over to your buddy's house, let's say, I don't know, and they're just a traditional gamer, what would you tell them about Illuvium to compel them to be interested in this project, starting with Frobei?
I mean, for me, my average gamer are like professional gamer on TFT. And when I talk about Illuvium to them, I'm like, imagine you have TFT with no bugs, with AAA graphics, with no RNG, and you probably can make more money than what you do in TFT. And then they kind of usually listen to me very well with this one sentence. Then if you want me to talk about more like the average gamer, not the professional players, I would say just look at the game. Just look at the game. If you feel like this is fun, if you feel like you want to try to play this game, capture these Illuvials, then come. And if you don't feel like, I'm not going to force you, because there's no point in trying to force someone to try something, right? So just look at the graphics, look at the videos, and that should be enough as an argument to attract people. If it's not, it means the game is not good enough.
Great answer. JP.
I think that what I would tell the average player is just, with the Illuvium, the first game, it's hitting a lot of different genres and a lot of different things that players like to do, right? It has the adventure aspect of exploring this beautiful open world. It has the competitive aspect. It has the collecting. It even has things like crafting or with Illuvium Zero, like like a city builder. So I would tell someone like there's really something kind of for everyone here, and not only that, but when you're a part of Illuvium, you can really feel like you're a part of something bigger, and that you kind of have an impact in the direction things go. So Illuvium is going to have future games as well. If you want an FPS in the future, then get in the community now, make your voice heard, have a meaningful impact, and grow this brand from within. And I think really when you describe it like that, I can't think of really anyone that couldn't find a home at Illuvium.
Geez, you guys are crushing it right now. You guys might take my job. Scoriox?
I follow really similar sentiments to those two. With Frobei said, he's in a lot of the esports arenas, but a lot of my friendship circles and things actually circle around Pokemon. And Pokemon's a really weird one because for me, I lost touch with it over time quite a bit. The big reason for that is everyone is hacking in their Pokemon now for competitive play and things like that. And I felt like when I spent 10, 15 hours trying to find a Pokemon I was trying to get with perfect stats or shiny or whatever it is, then it felt really devalued because anyone else could generate that in 2 minutes, right? I feel like NFTs change that game completely, and that's one of the big reasons I'm here. So, I mean, I would just talk to them about, definitely how there's something for everyone with the city builder, because I know a lot of people love Clash of Clans and things like that, and you've got all the overworld and everything and the future of the MMO and things. So I think there is definitely something for everyone, and everyone will get something out of it. But the idea that anything that you do in the game is yours and you create that story yourself quite truly, whereas in most games you can fake it or break it really easily with hacking and other things, the fact that you truly own that story and no one can take that away from you or devalue it themselves, I think is really powerful for me.
Got it. Yeah, my pitch would be something like this. If you enjoy collecting monsters or creatures in any video game, and you would like to actually be able to own those monsters or creatures and be able to buy, sell, and trade them in a game with anyone else, then Illuvium is going to be your only option. Take a look at this gameplay. Like Frobei said, if you think it looks interesting, come play. I think that's the hook. For me, I think the Illuvials are the star of the story here when it comes to marketing Illuvium. If you see those Illuvials and they look interesting or inspirational, or you get some feels from them when you see them and you want to collect them, or they look cool, then I think people are going to want to come in. And if they see that aesthetic, if they see those Illuvials and they aren't inspired by it, then they won't come in. It's really that simple. I think a lot of the time it's like, what is the hook? I think the Illuvials are the hook for this game. And then the kind of side dish, if you will, is the fact that you can own the assets along the way. Cool.
I really like
so
that.
much.
Just real quick, something that just came to mind when you were talking about that, Andrew. Have you guys considered, and maybe this is something that's already been discussed, but like when you're trying to tap into like the feelings or the emotions of the players, have you guys considered allowing people to name their Illuvials, and like has that already been discussed, or am I thinking of something new here? Like where you can have a name for the Illuvials in your deck and kind of like grow attachment to them and stuff like that? Do you know?
I don't know the answer to that. My assumption is that you would be able to give nicknames to your Illuvials, and that it would just be that type, similar to in Pokemon, right? You can name your Pokemon Poopy Face if you want, but it's a Pikachu. To my knowledge, we would want to do that. But the question is,
I would be more attached to them if I could name them.
The question is, how do you do that with an NFT? I don't know the answer to that, right? So once it's minted, is there some sort of variable where the NFT itself is just like the core Illuvial with its own attributes, but then when you plug it into our games, our database knows that it's named blah, blah, blah. I don't know the answer to that. So I can ask Aaron. But the NFT part makes it more complex, right?
I've seen lots of NFTs with very customizable thing. There's a game out at the moment, and I won't name it necessarily, but it gives a lot of vibes of like Mario Maker. And basically you can go in and you can customize your plot and build your own game level and stuff and then upload it. But I think that is more just like a back-end server. I don't think that's on the actual NFT.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me ask Aaron about that. That's a great question. And yes, we should do that. So if we hadn't already thought about that, hopefully we can give you a little bit of credit down the road and be like, thanks, JP. Awesome. Guys, let's go around the board here and give you a chance to shill. This is your chance, Scoriox, to shill to everyone. Seriously, how can people follow you? Obviously, your insights are fantastic. Where can people follow you after this if they thought what you had to say today was interesting?
Just please follow me on YouTube. Scoriox, that's probably where I'm the most. I want to be streaming more often on Twitch and things as well, but I'll probably stream on Twitch and YouTube always and things like that. So definitely follow me on YouTube. I am also starting something, or at least attempting something, where I try to give crypto gaming and crypto news updates on TikTok. So just go search for Scoriox on TikTok and you can check me out there as well.
Links in the description below on the YouTube version of this as well to all of our guests. JP, where can people find you in Arcade?
Yeah, so for Arcade's account, it's Arcade, the number 2, earn, Arcade to earn, and that is our Twitter. You'll find us, find links to all of our Discord and newsletter and everything like that. We have, a very vibrant community. So would love to have anyone else there. And then my personal Twitter is just it's a little bit of play on words with Arcade's model. It's Mission Pool, but it's Poole, Mission Poole. That's my last name. So Mission Pool on Twitter and Arcade to Earn on Twitter. But yeah, and then the other thing I'll just mention quickly in terms of opportunity, we do have a special role that we give out on our Discord to people that come from events that we do. So if you do visit the Arcade Discord, you can find that from our Twitter. You just hit us up in Gen Chat, say you came from Illuvium's Twitch or Twitter or whatever the case is, and a mod will give you a special role. And that role is going to be airdropped an NFT that will be a utility NFT for our platform. So encourage everyone to do that if you're not already in our Discord. But aside from that, thank you, Andrew. This has been really fun, and it's always a pleasure to speak with you guys.
Dude, that's amazing. You just offered to drop an NFT on our use in your shout out. Very, very good. Join their Discord. Go check it out, everybody. Thank you very much for that. Frobei.
Yep. So for me, I make educational content on the gameplay of the game of Illuvium and TFT, but TFT is another channel. So if you want to follow me, type Frobei Illuvium on YouTube, or you can also follow me on Twitter. I just know that Private Beta 2 is going to come soon. I don't have the date, But when that happens, I'm going to make a lot of guides about the new features of private beta, and then you can learn and be faster than the other players.
Fantastic. That's the guy that can help you out right there. Thank you so much for watching IlluviTalks. Appreciate it. If Illuvium is one of the leading game studios in the GameFi space, then obviously we want to continue to lead the conversation about our industry. And I really appreciate all of you watching today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Adios. I'm now going to awkwardly wave for a while